Thank you again for having me here today. I feel like I'm the token female, if you will, on this panel. But it's a very distinguished panel, and I'm glad I was invited because we in the school system are having a very difficult time actually producing digital citizens because the laws are so uninterpretable and the prosecution isn't happening. So what we're finding is there's a difference between cybersecurity and internet safety. So what we've heard from the first 5 presenters are really cybersecurity issues, where we're looking at crimes, what's illegal, what's legal, issues here in the state as well as nationally and internationally. So it's really security and infrastructure, what we can do with our virus protection programs and such. Internet safety is slightly different, and that focuses on the behavior of the individual and how they interpret their personal ethics as it's balanced by society. Now, what does society expect? That's usually guided by our laws, and our laws, as we've heard here today, aren't quite clear for us, and I think that's our purpose here today. What I'd like to present is, first of all, I just want to say that the original definition of a computer is a person. And that might be why some of our definitions in the laws are a little misinterpreted right now, because people think of computers as devices now, whereas in the original definition, it was a person who put information into this big steam-powered device and calculated things. So over time, science fiction actually has changed the definition of what a computer is, as well as artificial intelligence. And the layman's term of a computer now is a device. And so I think some of that is just a misunderstanding of the word computer. A computer intended to, or a computer was used to. In the olden days, it was a person. So there is, I think, a layman's definition there that is a little bit of the misunderstanding. The study itself is a 2-year study. It's called the Multimedia Juvenile Victimization Project. And what it is they asked me to take a look at what students are doing and compare that to what parents think they're doing, and then compare that to what teachers think they're doing. So what we did was we looked at 4 different states. First we looked at Virginia. They were the first ones on board because the state of Virginia has a mandatory internet safety program in all their schools, as well as programs for parents in the community in place. So they wanted to take a look at what their kids were doing and the community perspective on that. Of course, California was also included because coming this way, they wanted a state closest to Hawaii, and then of course Hawaii itself. Wyoming asked to be included because they do not have any internet safety program in their schools, and they were looking to get some feedback and some actual examples from the state of Virginia. So they asked to be included. And they went ahead and they implemented a law before any education was actually put into place. And the law was that cyberbullying was a crime and sexting was a crime. And I'll get to sexting later, but there were a lot of things that were happening in Wyoming that happened too quickly, actually, for schools to keep up with. Now, in the study itself, and I'm not sure who has the handouts behind me, but you should have in front of you here that we had over 1,000 students participate in the study. Here in Hawaii, we had 491 students participate. Of those students, 240 of their parents also participated, and then 127 school faculty participated. And what we found was there's a big difference in the areas of concern when it comes to cybercrimes and internet safety. The number 1 concern is online sexual predators, just across the board. Everyone is concerned about online sexual predators, victimization of children, victimization of adults, and victimization of children on school campuses. The second concern, however, is different. And if you look at this small itty-bitty slide, students are concerned about cyber stalking. They're concerned about people looking at their profiles. They're concerned about people getting information off their profiles. And in my class, my 8th grade class, where I teach computer literacy and ethics, I usually by looking at the child's MySpace pages and Facebook pages before they even come to class the first day, I can guess half of their passwords. And they're in shock. And I say, well, you told me what your favorite color was, I knew what year you were born, what month, I knew your favorite number, I knew your favorite sports team, I knew the first 4 digits of your address or your phone number. I knew all that information because you put it out there. And so I didn't hack, I guessed. There was no hacking involved whatsoever. So children are worried about cyber stalking because now they're aware that people can get information that way just by lurking and looking for that info. No malware, no viruses, no Trojans, just looking. That's all I was doing. However, parents are concerned about hacking. So again, kids were concerned about stalking, but parents were concerned about hacking. Because if you have a child in your household, you're 7 times more likely to have your machine hacked into with the malware, with the viruses, with the worms, because your children are activating them. Maybe not you, but your kids were sent the latest Justin Bieber song and there's something hooked on into that. Or they went to the latest thing on the Academy Awards site and it's actually a malicious website instead and they activated something. So again, if you've got children in your household, you're 7 times more likely to be victimized as in cybercrimes. So parents are concerned about hacking. Then you've got school faculty who are concerned about bullying, cyberbullying. And when we talk to school faculty about this, it's because they see all the cases concentrated into one area. And so they see the cyberbullying cases happen, whereas parents would only see maybe one case, their own child's, and they would only be concerned about the one child. So when you have differences in perspective and opinions about this, it's very difficult to provide an education program where everyone's concerned about the same thing, or even to convince people to be concerned in the first place. Because as Chris Duque and I go around the state and we do various presentations at the schools, sometimes from a potential group of 400 parents, we have 2 show up. Sometimes for a mandatory school faculty training, it's not so mandatory, we find, because there's so many other things that people are concerned about. So definitely an awareness level needs to be increased. If you turn your page over, there's a lot of information here that we have on all the students who participated. You see that about 36% of the children overall have received a sexual type of text message at one point or another. We can see that about 19% of the children have received some sort of other sexually explicit media that's not text-based or mobile device-based. It might be in a chat room, it might be when they're surfing the web, it might be in an online video game. And then we have about 33% of the children who participated or received cyberbullying type of messages. And the problem is schools can't call the cops. I'll say that again. Schools have a hard time calling law enforcement because when the police officer gets there, there's nothing they can do. Because a child calling another child a name is not a crime. It's a school issue. So Chapter 19 needs to be looked at to see what schools can do in that respect. Private schools have been developing their own policies and regulations, and they have some pretty strict enforcements in there that we can learn from in the public school system, I think. That's my personal opinion. Which is why I'm going to Punho after this too, in a little bit. But in the public school system, what we're finding is school principals and school teachers and vice principals, they're having a difficult time really monitoring all of this behavior because their hands are tied. Their hands are tied by the First Amendment, their hands are tied by the Fourth Amendment. And when they call the police officers say, well, it's not a crime. So what can we do? I'm not sure, but I know that education is the answer. When we are educating this new group of citizens to come out into society, what is it that we would like them to be aware of in terms of the laws, in terms of what's wrong and what's right? And the thing is, they're going to develop this sense of wrong and right personally. So we can't really enforce something that's unenforceable. I think that's my bottom line. there are two court cases really that make a difference in the school system. The first one is Bethel versus Frazier, and that one is saying that any district internet system, it's a very broad term, is responsible for any harmful or inappropriate speech when you issue the device or if it's on the school system. So many of our schools now are issuing devices. We're issuing them. We're giving the child a laptop. We're giving principals and administrators iPads. What are our teachers and administrators doing? What are our kids doing? And how can we monitor that? And I think we're going to need service providers to help us in that area. So I like what I've heard previously here where we're saying that we do need to give the internet service providers a role in all of this. The other case is Tinker versus Des Moines, and that one is a very, very old case that says that we are responsible legally for nurturing a safe environment for children to learn in. So we need to create policies that will help maintain that safe environment. And we also need the policies to be clear enough so that principals don't get fired when they accidentally look at that image on a cell phone. Because there have been cases across the nation where principals have been charged with viewing child pornography because a child came to them and said, "Help me, I got this," and a principal looked. So that's what's happening in the school system, and I think we need to change some of that. There also have been cases, not here in Hawaii, but elsewhere in the nation, where minors have been charged with production and distribution of child pornography because they were exploring their own sexual beings. And we've all gone through adolescence. We know what it's like to be hormonally crazy. Children are now doing that online, however. They will send these sweet messages to each other, which then turn into more than sweet. And some of them then send pictures or even video around. So when they're doing that, they're producing. That's a Class A felony. And should a child be held accountable to that? Possibly through some education, but should they be charged with a crime? I'm very much for changing the HRS 700 series statutes so that children are not charged with a crime. If a young boy receives that image from his girlfriend and he gets all excited and hits forward to file up his buddies, that's distribution. And is that Class B? That's Class B. So that's another crime. Should he be charged for that? I'm not sure, but I think there needs to be something in between that allows for education and reform of our minors before they're actually tried as adults. So again, that's the HRS 700 series that I'm asking for. There's all kinds of things that we can do in the education system that can possibly help parents and the community also. So I'm not here really today to speak so much as to cyber crimes as much as the potential of our children becoming inadvertent criminals when they leave the school system and they're then personally responsible for their actions. So in Hawaii, we know it's happening. And the numbers are here. I'm not going to go through everything because I'm, again, watching the time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.